Today is Tuesday, November the 24th. I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and this is my daily thought. All right. I guess I kind of need to jump right into it, is what I need to do. Of course, I have my chicken going. Hopefully, it won't start boiling over or anything. And also, there's been a lot of helicopters going by through here for some reason. I don't know why. Which, I mean, helicopters are a regular thing in Los Angeles regardless, but it seems like they've really been going by today. So I don't know what the deal is. I have to take a sip of my tea right quick. Okay. So, where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Today's been pretty cool. Today's been pretty cool. I talked to my god sister earlier. She called me, and my god sister lives in New York. She had called me. She was on her way somewhere, and we talked briefly. I wasn't about to pick up the phone because I was actually in the middle of working. However, she is sensitive if I don't pick up the phone when she calls. So I was just like, you know what? Let me go ahead and pick up the phone because even though she's a typical Aries, really, really tough on the outside, but all mushy on the inside and stuff. And I didn't want her to get in her feelings. And if she ever listens to this or watch this, it is what it is. But I didn't want her to get in her feelings. So I was just like, okay, let me pick up the phone right quick and do my work at the same time. And I was doing that. And she's like, what you been up to? I said, I've been minding my business. That's what I've been doing. I've been keeping to myself, minding my business. That's what I've been up to. And we talked about a few things briefly, but we didn't talk about much because, as I was saying, I was working, so I was kind of distracted at the same time. But she seems to be doing well. We briefly talked about Bojangles, which was kind of funny because I know I mentioned Bojangles having the best breakfast not too long ago. So it was interesting. And she brought up Chick-fil-A too. So that's why I'm like, okay, has she been listening to my podcast? Because I don't tell any of my relatives or any of my friends, except one, the girl that I call my little sister. She's the only one that knows I do the podcast. But as for my god sisters and my family, none of them know that I do this podcast. All my listeners are I don't know any of my listeners, even though I'm sure you listening to my podcast, you probably feel like you know me by now. But anyways, she had brought all that stuff up, and that was that. But yeah, so here I am, and Thanksgiving is around the corner. She also asked me if I was going to cook. I said, hell no, I'm not cooking. For those who don't know, yes, I know how to cook. I know I have cooked dinners for large groups of people, very large groups of people. And one person even asked me if I would cater one of their events before because they love my macaroni and cheese so much, because my macaroni and cheese is legendary. At least that's what those who taste it say. I haven't had my macaroni and cheese in about 2 or 3 years because I don't eat a lot of greasy or salty foods as much anymore. So I haven't had, as a matter of fact, I don't think I've had fast food all year long. I'm pretty sure I haven't had fast food because I don't remember going to Burger King this year. If I went, it may have only been one time, and I love a Whopper, but I don't think so because I just haven't been. And then, like with the hot dogs, I was talking to my mother a few days ago, and I told her about this vegetarian hot dog. It's what is the name of it? I think it's called Light Life or something like that. It comes from Whole Foods or Amazon Fresh, one of the two. And I was like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and give this thing a try. And I tried it, and it tastes like a real hot dog. It really does, but it's not meat. So kudos to them. But yeah, it tastes like a real hot dog. It's really good. But I just don't eat a lot of greasy food anymore. That's why I usually do my chicken all the time, or either I'll do lots of tuna or something like that. But as for cooking, I don't cook big meals because after you've cooked a lot, because my granny, we used to talk about that too, because my mother's mother, my nanny, she would cook all the time because that was just her thing. And she cooked pretty much up until she was unable to cook, where she, got sick and everything. But my dad's mother, my granny stopped cooking a long time ago. Anytime I would go over to my granny's house, and this is when I was a kid growing up, and I would be at my granny's house almost as much as my nanny's house, even though my granny was further away. I would stay with her, and she would usually order, like my granddaddy. He was near this place. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like these cafeteria places, like I believe one was called K&W, and then the other one was S&S Cafeteria. So he worked near an S&S cafeteria. On top of that, he also owned a store. So my granddaddy, my granny would just tell him, "Hey, bring something extra home," and do that. And in addition to that, my granny, anything that wasn't in there, like, okay, how can I explain this? Anything that wasn't in the house that granddaddy couldn't bring from the store he owned, because he owned a little convenience store, then we hit the grocery store. And then, like I told you before, anytime I went with my granny to the grocery store, I could literally throw anything in the buggy. And she didn't care. She was just like, okay, fine. I do that. I was spoiled because I was her favorite. So do that. And I asked her one time, I'm like, "Granny, why don't you ever cook?" And then she told me, she said, "Because I cooked for so long for so many people." Because she cooked for a bunch of children, my dad and his siblings, and then, her husband and everything else, that she said she just got tired of cooking. So she quit. And that's what happened. I think out of all the times that I've been to my granny's house growing up, I think my granny may have cooked twice. Because one time she made some chicken, and it was it was actually leftover KFC. But what she did is she put some water with it and put it in the pan. And I was looking at it like, "What are you doing?" But after she finished cooking it and working her magic on it, it was really good. It tasted better than the actual KFC that you get from there. So I don't know what she did to it. She added water and some other stuff to it and did that. And then she cooked some green beans, and then she made something else or whatever. And there was one other time she cooked. But other than that, my granny was not cooking at all. She wasn't about that life. So yeah, I'm kind of on that vibe is where I'm at when it comes to cooking. And plus, it's just me. And I don't rock with people like that. And that's another thing too. That's one reason why I don't mind not associating with a lot of people. Because when you do, they start making requests. And they're like, "Hey, can you make this dish for me? Hey, can you do this for me?" I don't have to worry about that. But anyways, I hope that everybody's going to have a lovely Thanksgiving. I still plan on doing a daily thought. So I look forward to that. Let me get to this daily thought because we're already 10 minutes into the show. Let me take another sip of this tea. All right. So the title of this is Take the Wins. I'm going to tell you a short story. Right quick. I had to go to court a long time ago. Okay. So I'm getting ready to go to court. My attorney's like, "All right, you're probably going to have to take the stand. The judge is going to ask you this, and this. Da, 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 da." I called my auntie, to be a character witness and everything else and to testify on my behalf and yada, 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 yada. So my auntie took off work to come to court with me. Okay. So we go into the courtroom. It's me, my attorney, and my auntie. We go into the courtroom. Nobody's in there. And the judge he comes in. And as soon as I saw the judge, and this goes to show, I wasn't reading energy or anything like that. I'm just like, oh, hell, here we go. I was like, I don't know if this is going to go well. And the judge sat down. My attorney did his opening thing or whatever. And then, and mind you, my attorney's opening statement, which basically he was saying what the case was about, in whatever he needed to say. Long story short, it took him about, I want to say 3 minutes to say what he needed to say, my attorney. And after he said what he needed to say, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be where I take the stand. So then the judge asked my attorney a question. My attorney answered the question. And I'm just like, okay. I'm just thinking in my head, this is going to be interesting. And then the judge looks at all the paperwork. And the judge is like, okay, that's fine. And signed off on it. After he said that's fine and signed off on it, I'm looking at my attorney. I'm like, wait a minute. And then I turn around, my auntie is sitting, she's like maybe 3 chairs behind, because, it's the usual courtroom setup where you go in and then obviously you have the short, I don't want to call it fence, barrier, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the technical name for it. There's a technical name for it. Banister, not banister. Is it banister? I think, whatever. The thing at the front, and of course you have the desk and everything for both sides, yada, 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 and everything. And then you have the chairs in the back, whatever. And my auntie was like 3 chairs behind me. And after my attorney's like, yeah, and then I'm looking back at my auntie, because my auntie had already taken off of work to testify on my behalf as a character witness. And I'm looking at her, she's looking at me like, wait a minute, what happened? I know this can't be it. And I'm looking at my attorney like, wait, what? And then the judge just gets up and leaves. I'm like, okay. What? And my attorney's like, that's it. I promise you, we weren't in there more than 10 minutes. I kid you not. On everything. We weren't in there for more than 10 minutes. If we were in there for more than 10 minutes, if somebody was like, you were in there for more than 10 minutes, I wouldn't believe it. I'd be willing to bet everything that we were not in that courtroom for more than 10 minutes. And my auntie didn't even have to take the stand. And I still get flabbergasted sometimes, because it's like, wow. Because I was expecting to be put through the ringer with a whole bunch of questions, and why do you want to do this? And are you sure you want to do this? And da-da-da this and da-da-da that and everything else. And then I'm like, they probably gonna put my auntie through the ringer too. And when did you know this? And when did he start this? And da-da-da-da this and da-da-da-da that. And my auntie didn't even take the stand. Learn to take the wins. Man, take the wins. That's the point of the story, is take the wins. Like, I know sometimes, because remember I did a daily thought, put your sword down because you're ready to fight. Where This one, and that is more of when I did the daily thought to put your sword down, as in having an aggressive personality, like you're ready to go to the next battle. For this one, take the wins is when you've won the battle, but you won the battle so easily. It's hard for you to process. You're like, okay, there's another shoe about to drop. And that's what I'm talking about. Just take the wins sometimes. Sometimes not everything comes to you easily, and it's not meant to. Because again, comfort and growth are not friends. I've said it a gazillion times. But in those moments when you do get a win on the board and you didn't have to fight nearly as hard as you thought you would have to fight for that win, take the win. Don't stay so, what's the word I'm looking for? Universe, help me out here. I need a word. Don't stay so immobilized and stuck in what the hell that you can't enjoy the win, and that you're not even believing that the win happened. Take the wins is what I'm saying. Because when you get those type of wins, they're few and fleeting. They really, really are. So when they do come along, and sometimes they do, because like I said, that whole situation, I promise you, I thought that judge was going to be extra. I so felt he was going to be extra. But not even close. I wasn't even in that courtroom 10 minutes. I wasn't in there for 10 minutes. I promise you on everything. I wasn't in that courtroom for more than 10 minutes. And what I went into court, this wasn't some traffic ticket or some stuff. This was something a little bit more complicated than that. Way more complicated. This was something which, and the reason I'm not telling you is because it will eventually be revealed. But it was something that if they wanted to run me through the ringer, if the judge really wanted to run me through the ringer, like, why are you doing this? Also, I need to talk to her. And you know what? We need another witness. We need more paperwork. We need this. We need that. If the judge really wanted to run me through the ringer because of what I wanted to do, the court order that I was looking for, then the judge could have ran me through the ringer. The judge was cool as hell. And I wasn't expecting it at all. Take the wins. So, yeah, that's all I have for my daily thought. Take the wins. Don't get stuck in, wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought. Which also, I guess you could attach that to, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Or, your mind can sometimes be your worst enemy. And I'm guilty of that. Because my mind is so constantly going. My brain is on steroids. It can get a hold sometimes. And when you can control your mind, that's a good thing. When you can control your mind. And your mind will set you up to say, oh, well, this is going to be really hard. But then after you do it, it's like, I wasn't expecting that. That was too easy. That's what I was getting all psyched up for? Really? I should have done this sooner. But when you get one of those things where you find out it was easy to you, because everyone's an individual, what may be easy for one may not be easy for the other. But something that's easy for you to accomplish, a goal that you decide to get done, or a task you decide to get done, take the win. Don't get caught up in, what the hell, or waiting for something else to come around the corner connected to it. Just take the win. Take it and run. Take it and run. Cause yeah, that's what me and my auntie did. We got all the stuff signed up and done, left the courthouse, and then that was that. Take the win. That's all I have. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. KIRWKC on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook.com/KIRWKC. If you are watching this on YouTube or Daily Motion, don't forget to hit the subscribe button followed by the notification bell. That will let you know when I upload new videos. But as I say all the time, people seem to listen to my podcast instead of watching my videos to see my lovely face. And I'm fine with that. I love my podcast listeners. I love you guys. I really appreciate your support of you downloading, because I see numbers of people downloading the podcast and so on and so forth and whatnot, and streaming and all that stuff. And I appreciate it. I sincerely do. Because out of all the people that you choose to listen to, you choose to listen to little old me. So from my heart to yours, I love you. Until next time, be blessed.